Okay, hello everyone. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I am here with my friends. Hi, Connie. Hi, Teresa,
Hi.
and my daughter Sonia. And we are studying A Course in Miracles. This is chapter 6. We are on the section 5, the lessons of the Holy Spirit. So let's start with that. Okay. Like any good teacher, the Holy Spirit knows more than you do now, but he teaches only to make you equal with him. You had already taught yourself wrongly, having believed what was not true. You did not believe in your own perfection. Would God teach you that you had made a split mind when he knows your mind only as whole? What God does know is that his communication channels are not open to him, so that he cannot impart his joy and know that his children are wholly joyous. Giving his joy is an ongoing process, not in time, but in eternity. God, God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked when the sonship does not communicate with him as one. So he thought, my children sleep and must be awakened. Okay. Okay, so Holy Spirit is our teacher, because when we listen to him, we are listening to our higher mind, which is still in communication, is a link to knowledge, to God. And so that's why it's saying here that the Holy Spirit knows more than you do now. Okay, but he teaches only to make you equal with him. So the idea is that we have forgotten that we know what we know. So the Holy Spirit is helping us to remember, to reawaken that knowledge within us, so that we can realize our equality with the Holy Spirit, with our higher mind, as Christ mind, one Son of God, one creation. It says, you had already taught yourself wrongly, having believed what was not true. Okay, so we taught ourselves to believe that we are separate from God, imperfect, sinful, lacking, that we are a body that is not eternal, that can die, that we are an ego that is a separate mind from other minds. And none of that is true, because it's not how God created us. And therefore, number 3, you did not believe in your own perfection. That's right. So we chose to believe something about ourselves that is not in alignment with the truth of what we are as children of God, created like God, which is perfect, whole. So number 4, would God teach you that you had made a split mind when he knows your mind only as whole? So no, God would not teach us that, because that's not what God is. And God could not teach us what he is not, because God is all-knowing, and only reality. Let's see, it would be unreal. Okay, so to teach us that we are a split mind would be to teach us something unreal, which is not what reality can teach. So let's see, what God does know is that his communication channels are not open to him, so that he cannot impart his joy and know that his children are wholly joyous. Okay, so when we, let's see, communication channels are not open to him. So our mind, when it does not listen to the Holy Spirit, it is blocking the awareness of the communication from God, which is love's presence. So when we are in fear, when we are choosing the grievance rather than the miracle, when we're choosing to not forgive, what we are doing is closing off our link. We're closing off, we're splitting the mind so that we close off the guidance from the Holy Spirit, which is a communication channel to God, to knowledge. And therefore, he cannot impart his joy and know that his children are wholly joyous. So there's a block to that awareness, which is what joy is, to know the truth of what we are. So giving joy is an ongoing process, not in time, but in eternity. So giving joy, you could say, is extending love, because that's what God is extending love, and that's what we are in truth. And when we're not extending love, then we are believing we're not ourselves, which is not true, but we believe it. So it seems to be true. And it shows up that way in our experiences in the world, because the world is a world that we make through projection of our thoughts, our beliefs. And if we believe that we are separate from God and imperfect, that's what we're going to see, because that's what we're putting out there, projecting out there. So let's see, God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked. Okay. So to block that communication simply means that we block our creative, let's see, we block our ability to create. So we miscreate in time, but not in heaven. Okay, because it says not his completeness. So God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked when the sonship does not communicate with him as one. And number 6, giving his joy ongoing, but not in time, but in eternity. So our creative ability continues in heaven, in eternity, but in time is a idea where separation can happen, seems to happen, and therefore it's a belief that we can oppose or block God. So that it's a world of illusion, and that's why it's referring to it as my children sleep. Because we're not, as long as we believe that we are separate, we're forgetting that we are one self in full communication all the time. And therefore that belief has to show up in the world of time as an inability to communicate, as misperception, as misinterpretation. I was having trouble logging in today. So that's a block, right? You could say, my intention is to log in, and then there's all these glitches that can show up, so that interfere. Okay, and so he thought, my children sleep and must be awakened. Yeah, so it's just like a little bit like a child sleeping in bed, and we're talking to them and they can't hear us. So it's not that anything has changed in the waking world for that parent. It's that the child is asleep and is tuned into their own little dream world. That's all. Okay. Yeah, Connie?
So it became a little confusing to me with all this him, his, he, especially, you know, I was curious if we're directly, I know we're not to be directly communicating with God, but here there it does seem there is a reference to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why can't we just communicate directly with God? I mean,
Because we believe we are separate from him.
well, on that level, but then I mean, there are times when I feel like I am just communicating directly, but I thought the course says that, you know, that's impossible, you
No,
know.
no, no, it's not impossible. They call it revelation.
Right.
Revelation. Okay, but the Holy Spirit communicating, so to be in our right mind is to recognize that we are not separate, that we are one mind. And so when we are done learning, okay, so the Holy Spirit, like any good teacher, okay, knows more than you do now. Okay, so right now we're still learning, so we need the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
And so the Holy Spirit is a communication link. That's why it's not direct communication. It's not revelation.
Right.
Okay, so when he teach, okay, but he teaches only to make you equal. So he, Holy Spirit, teaches only to make you equal with him, Holy Spirit. So once we are equal with the Holy Spirit and we are done learning from the Holy Spirit, we will have the knowledge, okay, that there is no separate self, there is no individual I, there is no world, okay, of illusion, there is no mind asleep. Okay, at that point, then there is direct communication.
Right.
Yeah, so because there's no in between, uh, there's no communication channel there because we are not perceiving any gap at all.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So this sentence 6, giving his joy, meaning
Mm-hmm.
God,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is an ongoing process, not in time, but in eternity. Okay.
Yes.
God's extending outward, though not his completeness, is blocked. See this?
It's awkward. The
Complete.
sentence is worded kind of awkwardly. Okay, so they're
Yeah.
talking about what is blocked. Okay, so what we're blocking is we're not blocking God's completion. Okay, so if we choose to sleep and believe we are separate, that's fine. Okay, what we're blocking is the communication of God's extension. Okay, but we're not blocking completion, wholeness. The block that we place to the awareness of love's presence has no effect on love itself, which is complete. Okay, it's simply that we are placing this block to the communication because we're splitting and listening to fear instead of love.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
just
it doesn't affect
the wording
eternity.
is just, yeah, the wording is just, I
It's
don't know, got
awkward. Yeah.
confused. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So when we don't communicate as one, okay, when we don't recognize we are one mind and we perceive each other as separate selves, separate individuals, that is a block to that communication, to that extension that is creative, that is creative power, that is what we are.
Mm.
So you could say that we're blocking ourselves from creating because we're miscreating by choosing to block that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Mm.
okay, number 2.
How can you wake children in a more kindly way and by a gentle voice that will not frighten them, but will merely remind them that the night is over and the light has come? You do not inform them that the nightmares that frighten them so badly are not real, because children believe in magic. You merely reassure them that they are safe now. Then you train them to recognize the difference between sleeping and waking, so they will understand they need not be afraid of dreams. And so when bad dreams come, they will themselves call on the light to dispel them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, anything, Sonia? Do you want to say from there?
Um, no, it's just, I think it's pretty clear.
Okay, so let's see. So it reminds me a little bit about what we were talking, that, let's see. So the Holy Spirit voice is a gentle voice. Okay, it's not a commanding voice. It's not a, a voice of, I'm here to protect you because you're in danger. There's threat, so it's has nothing to do with the survival stuff. So that gentle voice does not add fear to an already frightening dream. Um, but it's merely reminding us, okay, that 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 the night is over and the light has come. So it's almost as if the sleep is a memory that is over and done with, but we have forgotten. So we think we're still asleep, if that makes any sense. You see? Um, and so so the light itself is more like being able to discern. And it's almost, I want to say it's almost like lucid dreaming, where you are aware that you are dreaming, and so you're no longer scared in the dream. Does that make sense? Because I mean, I took a lucid dreaming class one time, and they wanted us to practice. So sometimes you have like a dog chasing you or something, but then you kind of remember. Like I remember one time I dreamed I was hiking up in the park here, and I saw I saw the little stream that I was going to cross over, and as I was crossing over, there was this big crocodile, kind of coming towards me. But then in that moment, I kind of like something, something in me when I was dreaming, I had a thought like, wait a minute, that can't be true. Okay, this is not crocodile country. So that something within the dream itself, I became aware that there was something happening that I was believing that was nonsense, that it could not be true. So that the mind begins to awaken to the fact that, okay, look, I can only believe things up to a point, because after that, they become so absurd that I'm sorry, I just can't buy into it, you know? And so the mind begins to awaken to this idea that the world is really just a dream of symbols. And yes, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense precisely because dreams are like that. They have all these weird things going on that don't make any sense. Um, so, um, Yeah, and so you do not inform them that the nightmares that frighten them so badly are not real, okay, because children believe in magic. So, when you believe in magic, it's like, let's see, you believe it. So it's like, it's like trying to make someone believe something that they truly, truly believe in. Um, I mean, that's why we have so many conflicts around, religions. Everybody has their own beliefs and they're very much invested in those beliefs. And you can't just have a conversation with someone and convince them that their whole belief system that they've grown up with and, for generations, it's not real. Okay. We're too much invested in it. Um, so and, and if it's and think about it, if it's coming from a credible source. I mean, think about children who believe in Santa Claus, okay, and think about them, how upset they become if they happen to overhear or find out that, oh my God, it's not Santa Claus. There is no Santa Claus. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like everybody in school believes it and you're the only one that doesn't believe it. It's um it can be a little traumatic for the kid because everybody else is still believing it. They are going to feel like they're weird, they're odd, so that's kind of what it's saying. You don't just tell them, okay, your nightmares have frightened you. They're not real, okay? Because if they believe there's a monster under the bed, you try to calm them down and they're freaking out. It doesn't really help them to say, no, honey, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. They just keep on crying because they believe it. Um, so you just reassure them that they are safe now. That's basically all you do with a child, right? When they're having nightmares. Okay. Now, and you can kind of, it depends, it depends on the child. If they're calmer and they're not so scared, you can kind of say, okay, well, let's take a flashlight and let's look under the bed, and see if the monster's there. So, you can work with them differently, but the point is that our belief system is very real to us. And we all know how difficult it is to try to change someone's belief system. Um, and we don't necessarily want to either. Sonia and I were just having conversation, right, Sonia, about being able to see something in a situation that a friend is in and they can't see it, so they go ahead and they have this situation, this relationship, and in the end it doesn't work out, and you had already seen it from the beginning, but that's like part of their script. So it's not going to do you any good to tell them, oh man, this is not going to end up good here. Okay, you shouldn't even go with this guy. They're just going to say, well, that's none of your business, especially if they like the guy. So that's what I'm saying, is that this is a very gradual process that the Course is putting us through. It's not trying to just jerk us awake and traumatic way, but it's a way of doing it as we are ready, and that's why the mind decides when it's time. So each person decides when it's time. Yeah, so anyway, number 3.
A wise teacher teaches through approach, not avoidance. He does not emphasize what you must avoid to escape from harm, but what you need to learn to have joy. Consider the fear and confusion of a child would experience if he were told, do not do this because it will hurt you and make you unsafe. But if you do that instead, you will escape from harm and be safe, and then you will not be afraid. It is surely better to use only 3 words. Do only that. This simple statement is perfectly clear, easily understood, and very easily remembered.
Mhm. Yes, and
Well,
most of us, yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Connie.
No, I was just thinking in the example too that you just gave with Sonia. So a wise teacher, so she could, rather than saying, oh, don't go with this guy, what could she have done or said rather to, you know, to be more of a loving teacher? And, in that first sentence, they give you what you need to learn to have joy. I mean, what might she have said? You don't have to say anything, but just using this as an example here.
Oh, can I reply to
Yeah,
that?
of course.
Okay. Well, in my experience, just because I know this person very well and I'm very close to them, I know that they are not receptive or have an opening, like I was saying with my mom, to looking at what it is they're really doing. They're just repeating the same error over and over and over again. And that's their choice, they're not going to be, it's not helpful for me to even say anything, because it's actually more loving to just not judge her and just be there for her if she needs me and not say anything, even if I noticed, something maybe off about that person. Unless it was like a dangerous situation, then yes, I would say something. But in this case, the best thing that I knew was to just let her um, go through with what she was going to go through and not say anything. And it was, in the end, she had to realize for herself that this wasn't a good relationship, and she moved on. So that's all I got.
Yeah, it's really difficult sometimes, like with children or with family or with close friends, to because we think, because what happens is there's this, I remember from when I was in college and stuff, sometimes we get into relationships and there's this illusion that we are, it's almost like we see what we want to see. We're not seeing what the facts that are there in front of our face, okay? We are turning a blind eye to those and just seeing what fits in with our illusion of what we want to happen here. And so we end up really deceiving ourselves, okay? Because and of course later, the relationship doesn't work out and we're like, oh my gosh, I should have seen this. Why didn't I see this? It was right in front of my face. Okay. Well, I couldn't see it because once I make this into this illusion of romance, of whatever it is, I'm literally asleep. I'm literally just unconscious. Um, and um, and I it's almost like I'm hypnotized. I want to say that that this idea of being asleep is almost an idea of being hypnotized and then waking up from that spell. And then wondering what the heck was I thinking? I wasn't, but then again, that's the lesson, because there's these patterns that we're here to undo because they haven't healed in the past. And so it's part of that script that we brought in. And sometimes we say, well, people like to learn the hard way. Well, well, that is, that's a choice, I think. I mean, at some point, we all get tired of the pain and the suffering, and we look for another way. And that's when we become more open-minded. And then we begin to, ask for, then we begin to ask more questions, and we become open to the Holy Spirit guidance, and then we receive it. Okay, but if we're not ready, we have that block. It's like blinders, So, but yeah, so it says do only that, and most of the time we don't teach our kids from that place of safety. We teach them from the place of fear, because we're used to using fear as a way to control them. So, and what happens is that kind of backfires, because if we teach from a place of fear, don't do that. That's going to, that's going to get you in trouble. That's, going to whatever. Don't drink and drive kind of a thing, um, instead of, instead of drive sober. You see what I'm saying? Which is reinforces to be safe, drive only when you are sober. Okay, that's easy to remember. Okay, but there's all these don'ts that it almost becomes a temptation for the kids to do that, because it's a sense of, you are limiting me, you are depriving me, you are keeping me from exploring, what's out there. So it almost becomes a driver for doing what I am afraid of, or doing what you are afraid that I do. Do you see what I'm saying?
Such an interesting way to go about things, that whole process. Yeah, yeah, don't.
Mhm.
And what is that? I mean, we want to just go for it.
That's guilt. That's coming, the don't, that's coming
Well,
from guilt.
yeah, but I'm thinking of the child is just, I'm being like that in my childhood. Everything was don't. So of course I always did,
Yeah,
did the wrong
exactly.
thing.
Exactly, because you become very curious about what is so wrong with it. Because we don't, so if you say don't do that and you tell your parent, well, why? Well, don't ask me why, just do as I say. You
Well,
see what
it's definitely a rebelliousness too of,
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It backfires
well, yeah.
yeah, it backfires because the sense is one of control. You see, I have to control you in order to keep you safe. I mean, and that's all guilt. And I've heard parents like in the library yell at their kids, right? Don't do that, you can get hurt. And then, I would just be so upset. And you know what I'm saying? So they're afraid of feeling guilty for not having taken care of the child and having the child gotten hurt.
Mm,
And they're the caregivers. So they feel responsible because you see what
okay.
I'm saying?
That's the guilt. Okay.
That's the guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So could you please explain that first sentence or give an example? Like
Yeah.
to not
So
avoiding?
yeah, so the teaches through approach, not avoidance. So the avoidance is that don't do that, avoid that, avoid that, avoid that. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
All right.
Okay. So
Okay.
instead, you teach the child, okay, these are situations in the world. So this is how you go about it. This is how you approach it so that you can be safe. You know,
Okay.
so there's a lot of traffic on this street. There's a lot of cars. And the way that you make sure that you're safe is you walk to the corner and you see that there's lights there and there's signals. And this is what you do. This is when you cross, when you see the little sign or when the light is green or when you look in both directions and see there's no cars coming. This is what you do, okay, to be safe in this situation. So that's teaching through approach rather than don't
Yeah.
do this, don't do that, don't, you know.
All right, good. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, number 4.
The Holy Spirit never itemizes errors because he does not frighten children. And those who lack wisdom are children. Yet he always answers their call, and his dependability makes them more certain. Children do confuse fantasy and reality, and they are frightened because they do not recognize the difference. The Holy Spirit makes no distinction among dreams. He merely shines them away. His light is always the call to awaken whatever you have been dreaming. Nothing lasting lies in dreams, and the Holy Spirit, shining with the light from God Himself, speaks only for what lasts forever.
Okay. Anything there, Teresa?
I just see it as a paragraph of reassurance saying that they're not there to frighten us. They're there to help us awaken gently.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, and so so the contrast is, you know, the Holy Spirit. Sometimes we have difficulty distinguishing the voice of the ego from the voice of the Holy Spirit. So the voice of the Holy Spirit never itemizes errors. So in other words, you know, the ego would teach you from fear. Okay. So the ego would say something like, okay, you know, look at what happened to so and so. Now they're in jail. Now they, you know, now she's a teen mother. Now she's da 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 da. So don't do that. Okay. Okay. So they're itemizing error. What they're saying is, or don't do what I did when I was your age. You know, I made this mistake. Okay. So I'm going to make sure you don't make the same mistake. Okay. So that's itemizing error, and that's frightening. Okay. So all those are examples of fearful things. And so let's see. And so the Holy Spirit will answer whenever we ask, yet he always answers their call, and his dependability makes them more certain. And so the more that we listen to the Holy Spirit, the more certain we become that it's truly helpful, that what the Holy Spirit is guiding us and the answers that we're receiving are truly helpful. They're not frightening. There's no fear in them. Now, children do confuse fantasy and reality. And a lot of us as adults still do that. We are not, it's very confusing. That's one of the first things I realized when I first started reading the Course in Miracles is that in my own thinking, there was no clarity between what was reality and what was fantasy. I became very aware of that. And that was one of the things that I really, let's see, focused on is being able to discern that difference. Because, see, the fear comes because they do not recognize the difference. Okay, so we can't be sure of anything if we're not able to distinguish between fantasy and reality. And the reason why we're not able to do that is because we have made reality what is familiar, what is normal, what I am used to. And it's not reality. Okay, so we have actually made, like, I'll give you an example. This morning, my son was saying, he says, you know, I feel really weird. And I go, huh? And he goes, yeah. He says, I don't know what it is, but I just feel really weird. So I was like, okay. So I was muscle testing and I said, oh, so you're not dissociated. I go, are you feeling your body? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I go, can you feel yourself breathing? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, you've made that strange to you, weird, because you're gotten used to being so dissociated all the time that's what's familiar to you now. Okay. But I said, and he goes, well, how did that happen? I go, well, look, at some point you got used to being dissociated. That's not how it was. Okay. And then you made that familiar, but it's only for a gap of time. So now what's weird is only weird because you're comparing it to, the past. So now you get used to this and this will be normal. This will be what's familiar. So the point, that's the whole point here. The point is that we have gotten used to fantasy as reality. So we're not able to tell the difference much of the time. And you can see it in the politics too. I mean, how is it possible that, a third of the population can believe one thing and another third of the population, completely the opposite thing that happened? They both went through the same thing. But, we're believing two opposite things. So, yeah, we believe what we want to believe. And if we don't keep an open mind, it's very easy to deceive ourselves. So, especially because we're not being guided by the Holy Spirit. We're letting ourselves be guided by our ego. So the Holy Spirit is like a light that shines dreams away. And the Holy Spirit makes no distinction among dreams. That's really good, because a lot of times we want to say, oh, well, I just want to have a good dream here. I mean, I want to do my spiritual work, but I'm not really interested in letting go of the dream. I'm really only interested in making the dream positive, getting rid of the negative and changing it and making it positive. But that's not going to heal the mind, because the mind is called to awaken. You see what I'm saying? His light is always the call to awaken. That's number 6, whatever you have been dreaming, because nothing lasting lies in dreams. So even the happy dream, I mean, is still a dream. I mean, ultimately, we want to be ready to let go of dreaming, period. Because otherwise we're still going to hold on to duality, because the duality is a dream of opposites. Yeah. Do you have a question, Connie?
A couple things. So line 3, children do confuse fantasy and reality. and they are frightened because they do not recognize the difference. So could you say maybe this is where their first split comes in right away, where they're like, wow, I'm really, this isn't familiar. I shouldn't be here. I know. Anyway, that just occurred to me that maybe yeah, that's the split right there in the beginning.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea, the consciousness was the first split. Okay, because consciousness means that we are aware of something else other than myself. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So right off the bat, that's a separation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about that,
Mhm.
and to observe kids and yeah, when they're really little like that.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So the next section, let's see, this is part A. It says give all to all. And let me see how long it is so we can. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I think we're going to stop right here and then we can pick up on the next one.